Welcome to another edition of Courageous Conversations, and today we have Pranita and Timothy with us, and we will talk a bit about their journey. Timothy is a technical director for one of the top bands in the country called Sanam, and Pranita is popularly known to have helped in freeing thousands of bonded laborers. She is actively involved in the space of helping underprivileged and also protecting women who have been experiencing domestic violence at home and in other places. So it's going to be a joy for us to have a conversation with them today. Welcome to this Courageous Conversation and glad to have you here. So before we start off, I just want you to tell me this uniform t-shirts kind of thing that you're wearing. What is this all about? And what does that mean for you?
Nothing. I'm just kidding. Well, I got it as a gift for doing an install at a church. When there's one of the churches in Chennai, it's one of their t-shirts. So
Yeah, for me, I love twinning.
Okay.
And I'm so thankful that in spite of him not liking it,
right,
he still does it for my sake.
Great. And we are glad that you're on this conversations. I was told that you've never been on a conversation along with your wife.
Yeah, I sometimes go, but I'm not in front of the camera. I have fun just watching everything.
Thank you for being here. And so, Pranita, why don't you tell us what you're involved in now and what's happening in the space what's the space that you're working?
So I do consult for quite a few NGOs in the space of justice, but most of the time I'm spending I consult with Justice and Hope. I'm the senior consultant there. So we deal with trafficking issues, domestic violence, child sexual abuse. We work with the disabled, as well as we're seeing how can we make healthcare accessible and affordable for the poor.
Right.
So that's most of the work that I do right now. And
every time I chat with you or call you off late, you're making a lot of friendly visit to the court. What is that all about? Police stations and court is what I keep hearing.
Yeah, so I was actually surprised by the number of domestic violence cases.
Okay.
In a week, I handle at least 4 cases.
Okay.
And they are like, we have to go to the police not once but many times, because the person who's oppressing, most of the time it's the husband, he will always find new ways to attack or find how to attack the family and to be violent, because they hate losing control. So we're either rushing to the police station to file a fresh complaint or to the courts to get directives to protect the family.
So is this happen only in Tamil Nadu or other parts of the country?
It's all over India. It's all over the globe.
Okay.
But we work in Chennai primarily, but I do take up cases across India.
Okay. So how do you feel when Pranita goes to a police station? What's running in your mind? Generally, that's a taboo place in our culture.
Well, she's been in and out of police stations for the last, I don't know how many years now. So I got to go back and maybe 15 years now, I think.
Okay.
Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe I just initially also I didn't feel it, like I thought it was a job. So it was part of a job.
Right.
So it had to be done. So but then the commitment level and everything is of a different kind.
Yeah.
I'm not scared for sure. Sometimes I'm scared for the cops, but anyway, I'm just kidding. But no, I mean, somebody has to do the job, and I think that God has chosen her and the team and everything. So I'm grateful for that.
That definitely makes my work so much easier, because I remember coming back after calling him once saying, I may not make it home.
Okay.
I come back and he's like so cool. on his laptop doing his designs. And he's like, I knew you'd come back.
Right.
So just having someone who's very calm, not afraid, helps me go out
Yeah.
and do the work. Yeah.
I know you've been involved in rescuing like thousands of people with bonded labor. So if I may ask, how do we one define this? Bonded labor is a word that I don't know, now it's difficult to comprehend. But where are these people? And also, I mean, domestic violence, I get it, it happens in families or even low income groups. But bonded labor, is it something that is existing now in India? How do you view it?
So I think people have images of slavery, where you're tied up, bound up. All those things still happen. But the Bonded Labor Abolition Act of 1976 in India specifies 4 ways you can find out who's a bonded laborer. If you go by that definition, they're all over India. And we had this joke in office where we said you throw a stone, it may hit a bonded laborer. So what happens is an employer takes advantage of a person's poverty. So he gives them a loan and the person has to work for the employer to repay it. Now, you may think it's so easy to repay, but the employer will never pay the minimum wage. So they get into a cycle where they can never repay. So the first point is that, are you paying back a debt? And if I have to pay back a debt, like you take a loan from a bank, you can work anywhere and pay it back. But here, you have to work only for the employer. So I may get a better job, higher paying job. I won't be allowed to go out. Now, in a system like that, the employer will ensure that you're locked up, kept in a space where you cannot escape.
Right.
So that's how the system is perpetrated. Minimum wages are not paid. I cannot sell my goods at the marketplace, for example. Many fishermen go out fishing, they come back. They can sell at the market rate, say 400 rupees a kilo. But the employer has a deal. He has to sell it for 50. And he cannot change because he has an advance he's taken.
Right.
So if you look at things like this, it's all over India. In many of the shops, many of the rice mills, rock quarries, fishing, all these industries have that.
Yeah.
It's very common.
Yeah. Thanks for that info. So let me ask you a question. Both of you have done your masters. I mean, you're an educated couple, and then you've been involved in a lot of things, music scene, and you've been involved in the urban lifestyle. What made you get into doing what you're doing right now? How did it all start? What were your initial conversations between you both that you had?
Of course, we both are from the same background, which MSW, social work, and she started. She started way back doing prison fellowship ministry and with prisoners' kids, and I did a few. I worked we both worked together in an NGO also that was socially related. From then on, I kind of moved on to a different field, but also always had touch with social work since she was there, and so I guess that's it. I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
Yeah, I think my journey started probably with my parents because I grew up in a small village and I saw poverty all around me. I saw injustices, I saw the system of caste, the landlords, my parents were there because we had to travel 4 hours to get to a hospital. And so they're both doctors and they work in that rural area. I saw all this, but it didn't, my aim in life was to grow up and make money. I didn't want to live like how my parents lived. But I guess you watch and you learn. So when I took up social work, of course, that's when I met Timmy. We had no intention at that point to get married, at least I didn't. But then I noticed that his upbringing as well as my upbringing, we always have made space at home for the poor. Like in his home, his mom had always food for the neighbors, the slum people, and likewise in my family. So I think that kind of changed my mindset. And as I understood, I realized that the people at my village were actually bonded laborers. The poor don't have access to medical care. And also the caste system. We are from an upper caste, and as children, we were not allowed to play with the children of the lower caste. We are doctors' children, so we shouldn't play with the drivers' kids. It didn't make sense to me, and I kept probing into these issues, and I realized we are made equal. We shouldn't be treated differently. So when we got together, I was thankful for one thing, that he met me and asked me to marry him when I was working with the prisoners, and which confirmed that he wouldn't mind who I worked with. He wasn't afraid of the kind of work I was doing, because I was living with life-sentenced prisoners, their children and wives. So I guess from the beginning we kind of, we never discussed it, but we knew that we had the same mindset.
Yeah, that's great, because it's important to be on the same page, same wavelength when it comes to working for a cause like this. So the journey that you started off, you mentioned about working with prisoners, their families, and things like that. Once we know that somebody is convicted in prison, we say, okay, he's a bad guy.
Yeah.
But what are the things that you have found that will help us understand them better?
Because that was my first job, and I learned so much from there, and I believe it will help everybody who wants to. The first thing I learned was love has no language. Because when I joined Prison Fellowship, I couldn't speak. So they still took me in. All I could do was action and whisper, but they accepted me as I was. So they're a community that is hurting, but they're a community that can love. And even if you're afraid that you don't know what you have to do there, don't be afraid, because someone like me who couldn't speak could help. So I realized that love doesn't need a language or, even spoken words. The second thing is, I was thinking, how will I go and help them? And I realized they helped me more than anything. I understood that human beings have a lot of resilience. They can bounce back. So all you need to do is go there, spend time, and they will find ways to, bounce back and do well. The third thing I realized is many of the prisoners were framed. They are not convicted because of a crime. I found 4 children from two siblings each. Their parents were working in a farm, and the owner had committed a murder.
Okay.
But because he's rich, he doesn't want to go to prison. He sent 2 of his servants. And so not everybody is, a criminal in the prison system. And we shouldn't judge all of them by the same. Most of them I had met were spouses who had killed their wives. And they were easy to work with because they regretted what they did. It was in a fit of anger. So my whole mindset about prison changed. We have these mindsets that first thing is that we don't know what to do. I think just being ourselves, making ourselves available is important. Just loving them. Understanding that not everybody is a criminal. And helping out, just ask them. They'll tell you. That's how it started. We asked them, where are your kids? Your wife is dead. You're in prison. Where are your kids? So we picked up the children, gave them education. So simple things. Visit someone in prison. Talk to them. Ask them what their needs are.
Right.
That should be enough. Yeah.
Thank you. That's very encouraging and commendable of what you did, because it's important to get the other side of the story as well, because sometimes we are so biased, and this gives a lot of perspective to me as well. I mean, as I'm discussing this with you. Okay, let's talk about incidents that shape our life, right? Uh, I heard that both of you had incidents that shaped your lives as individuals. So, can you share with us how that particular incident shaped your life to do or to become a person that you are today? Why don't you start with you, Jimmy?
Yeah, if it's a particular incident or I can go back to when I was in school at 12th grade. I met with an accident, like a life-threatening accident where I came in contact with a high-tension electricity wire on top of a train. Um, was I mean, it was an intense shock. That is, but
Okay.
thankfully I didn't die instantly, but managed to somehow. In my semi-conscious state, roll off the train and fall into my friend's hands, and they took me to the hospital. And then I was given about 48 hours to live, and went through a few, maybe I think 3 skin grafting surgeries, and was burnt basically because of the amount of it was electric burns. And I thank God I'm sitting here and talking to everybody.
Yeah. What were you doing on top of the train?
We were went to fly kites or catch kites rather. Like I was crazy about
Yeah.
like kites.
I love kites, yeah.
Yeah. So, but there was nothing much, and we were playing around there. It was, and I thought that somebody went up, and I followed kind of thing,
Okay.
which he didn't was not on top. But then I did not touch the wire.
Right.
If I touched it, it became ash.
Right.
This is like 25,000 volts, I think.
Right,
Like, yeah.
right.
So I came in the contact with the field of current around it. So that experience and you can say maybe pain and whatever suffering and healing I went through, obviously gave me a new perspective. I always knew that God was there and He was in charge, kind of thing. But this really gave me a new perspective of how life is and how I should live, and how short life is sometimes, and how
Yeah,
I'm
that's
blessed to be alive. So, yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Praise God for that, because these are the things that through which God shapes us.
Yeah.
And Pinky, you also had an
Yeah.
experience.
I think when I was just finishing my graduation, I used to have intense pain. So we finally, went to many doctors and finally diagnosed that I had a brain tumor. And the tumor was in a place where you couldn't remove everything. So I had 2 surgeries and, open craniectomy, where they opened up my skull. And after that, I had a radio surgery. But, the tumor remained, parts of it, because they couldn't touch it. I kind of lost the right side of my body, almost 60%. Lost my voice completely. And I used to be a very loud person, very, very different from the person I am today. But I kind of am grateful for what I went through, and because what the tumor did was it left me with a constant noise in my head. It left me with pain. It left me with many other things, like I can't hear properly. In my right ear, I can't swallow food easily. So that keeps me grounded. It keeps me grounded. It keeps me reminded of those who are suffering around me. Because I guess I tend to forget that, when you have everything,
Right.
that's natural that we tend to forget what's around us and how people are there suffering. So in many ways, that experience changed the way I looked at life. I speak less. I listen more. I realize that everybody cannot be on time all the time, because they have other issues to deal with before they come. It also helped me to know his story, because I was young. I was 23, and I thought, I don't want to get married. This is my life. I may not live long. But when I heard his story and saw the faith that he has, I said, okay, here's someone who understands healing, understands that you can survive after 40% burns. And he's willing to still walk this life with me, knowing I have a brain tumor. So I think that was a defining moment. My life changed after the brain tumor.
Right.
My perspectives, the way I look at people with disabilities, and also that there are people who love and who will support.
Yeah. To me, what was going on in your mind when you figured she had brain tumor, if I may ask?
I don't know. Maybe I just didn't think about it as something that serious and that
Right.
that maybe would cause somebody to be rejected in society. Maybe I didn't think of it like that. But
Okay.
so I guess that's what it is. What
Right.
made
Yeah.
things happen.
So basically, he's one of those persons, nothing scares him. So like, you're this like guy who's like, okay, chilled out, absolutely okay,
Yeah.
life will go on. So
And he was like that throughout my treatments. And yeah.
that's wonderful.
Or maybe I'm opposite and
Complete denial of reality.
Yeah, that's good. Let's talk a bit about what you do now with Justice and Hope. What is the vision? What is the big picture, and what you're all trying to achieve with Justice and Hope?
Yeah. So, as you know, my journey started with prison work. And throughout I worked with many NGOs, and I realized that at different points there were issues that no one worked on. And that's how we picked up the projects that Justice and Hope picked up, and we work on all these issues. For example, in one of the homes that I was working at, there was child sexual abuse going on. And no one worked on rectifying child sexual abuse, taking up the case, fighting for the kids. So I thought that's one area that I should start working.
Okay.
In 2005, soon after the tsunami, we had a rescue of girls who were trafficked. Chennai is not known for trafficking like Mumbai and Kolkata. But when we rescued these two girls, they happened to be sisters, and there was no other NGO in Chennai that would rehabilitate them or take care of them, because nobody in Chennai was working on trafficking.
Right.
So we thought, if we ever start working in a project, that should be an area that we should cover.
Right. Okay.
Likewise, domestic violence. I belong to the Christian faith, so I can speak to that. Many women who came forward were told, pray, God will change things.
Right.
Everything will be all right. You have to adjust. What will community think? What will society think? And I was reminded of my work in prison. 80% of those who commit murder have actually killed their spouse, which is domestic violence. And I was like, this is not right. You're sending a woman and the children back to a place where they can be killed. So that's how we worked on them. We started the domestic violence work. And of course, disability is something I've been living with. Never thought of starting a project. But I met a friend who's been, he's suffered with arthritis from the age of 8. And now he finished his education, and he wanted to do something more than just sitting at home and on the computers. And I realized that we are not a community that's disabled friendly. So we just talked to each other, and he was willing to start working.
Right.
So that's how we got into disability. So we picked up areas where no one else was working on. There are people who work on disabilities. That's the only unique, different one.
How can people partner in what you're doing? Like a lot of our people who watch us are from different parts of the country. How can they partner? How can they get involved in the work that you're doing? I mean, I know they can. It's one is getting involved in the organization, but I'm talking more in terms of the vision that you guys have. How can they get involved? What can they do? How can they network or to strengthen the cause?
The way we work is that we believe that everybody, every citizen, every individual belongs to a community. And you don't have to work through Justice and Hope. You can be a difference where you are. So we would love to come and train. It could be an apartment complex. It could be your school. It could be a college. In all these issues, how can you be a part of your own community? Because I cannot make a difference in your community, and neither can you in mine. But we can provide the training so that you can be an influence and change maker in your community. So that would be the first step. Secondly, we do take up cases, court cases, police work. It costs money. So if you want to help monetarily, that's a huge benefit, because it will go to the families that need protection, rescue, in that sense. Any other way, we encourage anybody could use your influence to bring awareness. Use the social media, use your contacts, keep people aware. So those are the 3 ways I would suggest that you could participate.
Thank you very much. Because friends, I just wanted to hear that out, because I think we are in a space that these things happen all around us. And it's important that we are there to bless people or to help people. And I think here is one of the ways we can network or even connect with Justice and Hope, because they're already doing that work. And it's something that will help us if we see injustice happening around us, or if there's domestic violence, or if there is somebody who's like a bonded laborer. It's always good to kind of send an email or send a text message to at least see if we can make life better for other people. And they're on the front line. I think it's always good for us to be there to support and partner in the work that Justice and Hope is doing. So one last question I want to end with is, okay, you're a very chilled out guy, okay? So you don't get scared. But one thing I wanted to ask you is, like, this is very risky work, all right? The work that, you as a family are involved, and sometimes you go, but I think it's something that you all decide. Are there things that make you nervous? Are there things that scare you? Or is there anything that people who want to pray for you can pray for you? Because I know this is tough. And so I want to check what goes on in your mind. What makes you all nervous or scary at times?
You only have to be scared. I'm not scared.
Yeah, I think what he's not saying it, I think. Because we invite people home.
Right.
There have been days when women who are in domestic violence are thrown out in the middle of the night. So they come home, they stay with us, and the spouse follows because he's angry. So that can be a risk for the family. Right. We did have a space where we could rehabilitate or take in women who have come out of trafficking and who can stay with us.
Right.
So again, those who are after them, they pose a risk to our family too. So there have been many threats. The usual talk. I will cut you up into pieces. Right. I know where your kids are. Those kind of threats are there. So we just make sure that we have some kind of safety measures where we drop our kids, we pick them up, we keep our doors locked, and are cautious to answer our phones, things like that. Yes, and I'm grateful that he's allowed that. So far, thank God, nothing has harmed us in that sense, but yes, there are threats and risks.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that, because I know a work like this, I think, involves a lot of risk. And I know that you guys have been doing at for many years now, and I think God has kept you safe. And thank you for coming and then sharing that journey with us. And I think we want to also encourage our audience and friends who are listening to this to get involved. I think just connect with Justice and Hope and see how we can partner together. It's not about money all the time, but I think it's influence that matters. It's connecting with either, I don't know, judiciary, or being there sometimes also really helps. And I think for me, what Pranita and Timothy do is highly commendable, and I've been watching their journey for many years, and they've been really a blessing to many people. So I just wanted to encourage you to be at it, keep doing what you're doing. Appreciate you all and love you guys for what you do. And friends, get involved, be in touch, and thank you very much.
We have a helpline.
Okay, you have a helpline.
It's a simple number.
Yeah.
9500 25000.
9500 That's the helpline where you all can reach out and connect if you find anybody in distress. So thank you very much for being with us.
Thank you.